A stone, the smoothest stone you've ever seen. It's at the bottom of the lake reflecting on its life. It started as part of the moon, or at least it thinks it did. It's been so long it does not remember if it was simply on the moon or part of it.
But that doesn't matter.
It thought?
All that matters is that I'm not from here. I don't belong down here in this mud. I used to be a big deal, you know.
It yelled to itself.
I was part of the biggest crater on the moon. That used to be a feat where I came from. No one cares here though. No, it is cooler to be part of a big pile of rocks. You think I'm cool, right?
It groveled. A crab sat motionless save for its maxillipeds sucking in whatever nutrients it could steal from that spot. The rock let out a groan of displeasure.
I'm washed up. No one cares about me. No trick I can perform or song I can sing will impress you, would it? Have you no love for the arts? Speak, damn beast of the water, answer me.
If it could move, it probably would have attacked the crab in a fit of rage, but alas, it remained still. The crab slowly shuffles away, accompanied by the rock's protests.
No, please, I apologize, come back. He's all I've had to talk to for years. All these fish swim too fast to hold a conversation, and seagrass gets too political sometimes. Perhaps I deserve this.
It pondered.
Maybe I've done something in my past that I never realized that led me to where I am today. But I haven't a clue as to what. I've been here so long my memories have gone a tad fuzzy. I guess I've got nothing but time to try and remember, what with that coward crab leaving me.
It attempted to calm itself down.
I can't be doing that anymore, or I may just truly end up here alone. Now where was I? Ah yes, I remember, I was trying to remember.
It sat slowly rolling through the memories in its mind until it finally landed at the beginning, or at least as far back as it could remember.
I was at the top of a large crater next to some of the coolest boulders I've ever known. Life was good, we used to talk for years on end about the wildest things. Their reactions would always crack me up. What is the first day of the space week called? Moon's Day.
It stopped for a while, laughing at its own joke. Classic moon comedy that luckily no one was around to witness. It sat looking around for another poor soul to talk to, yet none came.
Where was I? Oh yes. I was with my friends on the crater. I was just about to work up the courage to move out of my parents' crater and be my own rock. But before I had the chance, this jock rock from out of town crashed into us, scattering me into the sky, and for the first time in a long time I moved. I of course couldn't decide where to move, but I was moving nonetheless. It was something new and scary, yet no intervention from me would end this escapade.
It paused for a second and took in a large sigh as it imagined that moment again for the first time.
It was always so far away. No matter what I did, it always seemed like the little blue ball was always too far away. Some days I would stare at it and wonder, were there others like me? I had no time to think such thoughts anymore. I was now hurtling as fast as I've ever gone straight towards it, and it was big, bigger than I ever could have imagined. Not only that, it wasn't just blue. Globs of green covered it too. Seeing all the details of a place unknown as I flew right at it was a strange feeling. So much to take in all at once in an ever-shrinking window of time. Trying to take it all in at once was a feat too great for me to do. All I can do now is sit and think of all the potential I've missed. The thought that I missed something that I will never get to see saddens me.
A long interval of silence follows as it looks around the mucky water.
The most interesting thing to see here is the passing fish, but they've become a rare sight. I can see no farther than 10 feet in any given direction, even the surface eludes my gaze.
A seemingly unending pause took place, only broken by a snap back to reality.
Right where was I? Flying into the unknown. It didn't have time to be afraid as things got hot. Like really hot really fast as I caught fire. Engulfed in flames fed by new air, I was numb to the feeling, yet I felt overwhelmed. The heat wasn't painful, yet it quickly took over all of my senses. Details grew more clear, yet were shrouded in flame. I saw green become individual trees, turn to more fire flashing in front of my eye. Trying to avert my gaze to a spot not covered was a frivolous conflict. By the time the fight was over, I stopped moving, hitting the side of a mountain. My vision, less obscured, saw the stone on the ground turned into red and orange. Half of my body was jammed into the newly made pocket. As the ground cooled, life sprang around me. Slowly but surely foliage grew, only snuffed by the cruel winters that blanketed white over all. The rain, don't even get me started on the rain. That was the start of the decline. I was almost driven to insanity due to its constant harassment. I could feel myself slowly becoming less of what I once was. Do you know what that's like?
The seagrass sways gently with the movement of the water.
I knew you would understand. Sometimes I'd get some friends, like the occasional bird or woodland creature. It wasn't much, but it was enough to keep me going. You know, like a treat every so often. A carrot on the end of the stick if you will. But not all good things last, they never can. You know, I kinda miss the view now that I stop and think about how I ended up. I don't blame anyone for me being here, yet I can't help but be angry. It was a white winter just like it always was, trees bore no leaves and I couldn't see a thing past all the snow. I guess after all the time I spent on the side of that ridge I started to come loose. Maybe it was the rains that slowly dug me out of my crater.
It stops, looks around again to no new witnesses to its incessant rambling and considers sitting in silence again. But silence is the one thing worse than the empty echoes of the past.
That day, the last day before my rapid decline metaphorically and physically. Something I'm not sure what it was or what it could have been, but that thing is why I'm here. It crawled on top of me much like many animals did. This one started digging under me. It was probably looking for food, however the reasoning doesn't matter because the end results are the same. I came loose, I broke free, I rolled down hitting trees and other rocks on the way down, shattering along the ride. I now laid next to a new riverbed, shaken and in pain I absorbed my new surroundings. Not the worst but I couldn't see as much as before or well enough trade to be safe.
It looks around the mucky water again trying its hardest to see past the natural barrier.
Now all I get to see is whatever decides to come here. Alone save for the wills of soulless beings. You're probably wondering how I ended up here from a lovely river down to the bottom of the muck.
The seagrass whips around the newly forming current.
No need to be nervous, it's just a storm above. Which, funnily enough, is the next part of the story. I laid on the river's edge for probably longer than the hill. But the storms were much tougher there, no trees to block the lashes of water. Over time I'd get little pieces falling off and a strong wind would roll me a tad. Eventually I looked no different than any other stone around. I sat so close to the river I could see my reflection staring deep within me. I had found myself in a little nook blocked from moving.
The current now creating almost a small vortex outside the stone's field of view rages on. The nearby seagrass flashes up and down clinging for life. One piece not fully incorporated into the clump is torn from the nutrient-filled muck and is cast out of line of sight.
Sorry I didn't realize the suspense was killing you that bad. So there I was minding my own business when this thing ran over top of me leaping into the water. For the entire day I watched it swim. Until it came up onto the shore and sat no farther than 10 stones from my spot. As it sat there staring over the lake it turned and grabbed a stone. New friend I hadn't gotten to know that well, but he seemed nice. It threw him as hard as it could. I watched as he'd fall into the water then jump trying to escape the river's grasp. One by one my friends were cast to a fate yet unknown. Then it came for me. Its meaty paw covered most of my vision. I felt myself being shaken around then released. The wind rushed by me like it did long ago. It was an almost nostalgic feeling.
The stone now pebble sat and imagined the breeze as the thought dawned that it was a feeling that would never again be felt.
Then I landed, crashing down. I put all my willpower into jumping, trying to jump long enough to end up on the other side of the river. But I wasn't strong enough and I started to falter. My willpower failed, I failed and I saw the surface for the last time. Sometimes I wonder how close I was. Sometimes I think I wasn't even close and others I could swear I see the other side of the riverbank when the waters are calm. Doesn't matter anyway, the point is I ended up here. So that's my story, I hope you enjoyed it, maybe you could tell it to someone from me one day. You know, it kinda keeps my memory alive.
The pebble was so small it could almost float.
Not to be a downer and end the story so soon but I'm afraid I must go now.
The pebble is shortly after sucked towards the vortex. The pebble watched as it left the bottom behind. The pebble looked around now used to being moved. As it tried to absorb every sight it could see just in case it had to tell its story again it saw some of its old friends. Quickly passing over top it wondered how its time down there would have been if it was just a few feet to the side. The thought didn't have time to fester as it was now entering the vortex. Wildly it was spun around getting a full view of the surrounding area in a fraction of a second. The force was so intense that the pebble felt itself being ripped apart. Cracks started to form as the vortex showed no sign of slowing down.
The end.
The pebble watched the skies as it broke apart and each piece broke beyond the point of being seen by the naked eye. Soon after the storm the dust settled and life went on.